You are sitting there right now, maybe leaning back, maybe tuning in while you commute. And you probably think you have a pretty solid handle on the cultural icons we all grew up with.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, when we talk about folklore, especially a massive figure like the Monkey King, your brain just automatically defaults to a very specific, incredibly sanitized frequency.
Oh, absolutely. It is a completely packaged image.
Exactly. You picture this plucky, rebellious primate swinging a magical stick, going on this quirky, episodic, holy road trip. You imagine a cartoon, something you could print on a lunchbox.
Mm-hmm.
But listen, we are here today on this deep dive to completely dismantle that comfort zone for you.
We culturally demand that our myths act as pacifiers.
Yeah.
We want a clear moral compass, a hero's journey where virtue triumphs over some vaguely defined evil.
Yeah.
And we strip away the rough edges over the centuries until we are basically left with the bedtime story.
Well, forget the bedtime story. Today, we are taking you down into the cellar. We are ripping the modern, brightly colored veneer completely off 16th century Ming Dynasty mythology.
Oh, we're tearing it to shreds.
Because when you actually submerge yourself in the unvarnished reality of Journey to the West, that cheerful picture book just spontaneously combusts.
It really does.
You are not looking at a whimsical adventure. You are staring down the barrel of a traumatic, blood-soaked descent into esoteric cult practices, extreme sexual violence, industrial-scale cannibalism, and just the absolute sociopathic corruption of the divine hierarchy.
It is an existential meat grinder. Honestly, to call this a pilgrimage is it is the greatest trick of historical rebranding ever pulled.
100%.
It is a survival horror experience. We are talking about a universe where enlightenment is absolutely not something you find by sitting peacefully in a lotus position under a Bodhi tree, listening to the wind.
Right. There is no Zen meditation here.
None. Enlightenment here is forged through sheer, unadulterated physical trauma. You only achieve godhood by navigating an inherently broken, malicious cosmic bureaucracy and by violently butchering the ugliest, most repressed parts of your own psychology.
So, before we even pack our bags for this blood-soaked road trip to the Western paradise, we really have to look at the baseline biology of this universe.
Yeah, we have to start with the flesh.
Because Sun Wukong, our supposed hero, he does not begin this journey out of any sense of virtue. I mean, he doesn't wake up wanting to save the world or achieve spiritual salvation.
No, not at all.
He starts his journey because he is completely paralyzed by a crippling, agonizing, existential dread.
It is the purest terror there is, right?
Yeah.
The dread of biological decay.
Yeah.
Just think about his origin for a second. He is born from a stone womb at the peak of the mountain of flowers and fruit.
A literal rock.
A literal boulder that has just passively absorbed celestial yin and yang energies for eons. He hatches into a fully formed macaque, shoots golden beams from his eyes that actually rattle the heavens, claims a kingdom hidden behind a waterfall, and then almost immediately comes face to face with a horrifying realization.
Which is...
He is flesh. He has an expiration date.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, no matter his physical prowess, he is going to rot.
And that biological reality just breaks him. I mean, imagine waking up with the power of a demigod, but you have the looming shadow of a terminal diagnosis hanging over you.
Like his nightmare.
So he abandons his entire kingdom, builds this makeshift raft, and crosses a literal ocean just to find a loophole in the natural order of life and death.
Right.
And this brings him to the Buddho-Taoist sage, patriarch Subhuti. Now, my entire understanding of magic systems in mythology is usually, say a spell, wave a hand.
Sure, the Harry Potter model.
Exactly. But from what I understand of your expertise in this era, we have to completely reframe what Subhuti teaches him, because it isn't magic.
No, it is not magic. It is grueling, highly restrictive internal alchemy. We're diving deep into Neidan.
The Neidan.
Yes, this is the internal alchemy that dominated the esoteric, often highly secretive traditions stretching way back to the Song Dynasty.
Okay.
It is physiological engineering of the most dangerous order. You are essentially turning the human, or in this case the primate body, into a literal mechanical furnace.
Let's pull back the curtain on this, because honestly, it sounds like the most extreme, terrifying biohacking imaginable.
Oh, it is.
The stone monkey spends a decade with Subhuti, and for the first 7 years, he isn't learning how to fly or shoot fire. He is sweeping floors.
Sweeping floors, fetching firewood.
Just menial manual labor to break down his ego.
Exactly.
But then, because of his terrifyingly sharp supernatural intellect, Subhuti takes him on as a close disciple for the final 3 years to master these dark, esoteric arts. So walk me through the actual physical toll of what he is doing to his organs.
Well, the foundational goal here is to cultivate a spirit embryo inside the body.
A spirit embryo.
Right, and the mechanics are intensely mature. To generate the cosmic power necessary to literally defy death, the practitioner must enforce the absolute unyielding retention of chaste semen.
Wow.
Known as Jing. You have to seal every single biological leak in your system.
So absolute physical denial.
Total denial. Through rigorous, agonizing asceticism, you prevent the body from expelling any seminal essence. Instead, you capture that raw, highly volatile sexual energy, and you force it to undergo a transmutation into pneumatic energy, or Kwai.
I want to pause on that, because he is completely locking down his basic biological imperative. He is taking raw reproductive drive and using sheer willpower to force it backward and upward into the brain to purify it. I mean, it sounds like trying to build a nuclear reactor inside your own viscera.
That is a perfect analogy. It's a pressure cooker. And once that volatile energy is purified in the brain into spiritual energy, which is called Shen, it is relentlessly circulated throughout the entire nervous and meridian systems.
That sounds agonizing.
Oh, it is internal circulatory torture. And the ultimate goal of all of this is to compress all that circulating energy into a highly dense spiritual pearl.
Okay.
And this pearl is housed within the cinnabar field, the dantian, which is located deep in the lower abdomen. That right there is the crucible.
But the physical torture doesn't stop with sexual repression, does it? Because I know the diet, the breathing, it borders on supreme paranoia.
Supreme paranoia is exactly what it is. The margin for catastrophic failure is absolute zero.
Really?
Zero. To cause a golden lotus to sprout from that compressed spiritual pearl, the practitioner engages in breathing exercises that completely defy natural lung function.
How so?
You are tasked with absorbing cosmic yang energy by inhaling what are classified as live pneumas. And you can only do this during the specific 6 double hours between midnight and noon.
Wait, so while actively suffocating your intake of the dead pneumas of yin energy from noon to midnight?
Precisely. You have to regulate your breathing on a cosmic clock.
The hypervigilance required for that is staggering. And what about the dietary restrictions? I know you are completely starving your cellular structure of meat, obviously.
Obviously no meat, but also what they call flesh vegetables.
Right. Garlic, onions, scallions. Why those specifically?
Because the chemical composition of those specific alliums causes the internal breath to become overwhelmingly violent.
No, I see.
If your breath disorders even slightly, or God forbid, if you allow yourself to experience a fleeting moment of anger or lust, the entire internal alchemical structure collapses.
Just from getting mad.
Just from a flash of anger.
Yeah.
You suffer severe blood coughing fits that can unravel years of cellular transmutation. You must nurture this spirit embryo in absolute stasis until it reaches maturation and can be directed out of the heavenly gate at the crown of the skull.
So nobody is handing Wukong a superpower here.
No, he is earning every ounce of it.
He is violently torturing his own physiology into becoming a weaponized, indestructible vessel.
Yes.
And the payout is absurd. He achieves an ageless adamantine body. He masters the 72 earthly transformations,
Turning into insects, birds, inanimate boulders.
incorporeal beams of light.
And you add to that the cloud somersault.
Right.
By channeling that cultivated energy, he can leap 108,000 li, which is roughly 33,000 miles, in a single physics-defying bound.
That is just insane speed.
These abilities, they are a direct reflection of the Iddhipada powers, which are the spiritual manifestations of extreme meditative concentration recognized in ancient esoteric cultivation.
And the physical combat applications are terrifying, too, like the magic of body division.
Well, yeah.
He can pluck any of his 84,000 hairs, chew them up, spit them out, and transform them into humanoid clones or weapons or demon shackling chains, instantly multiplying his physical force into the tens of thousands.
It is a one-man army.
He masters the magic method of modeling heaven on earth, expanding his skeletal structure until he is a titan standing 10,000 zang tall. That is over 100,000 feet of pure fanged destruction.
He is a walking apocalypse.
He possesses a medical acuity so sharp he can perform complex pulse diagnoses on royalty using only golden threads from a completely different room.
It is a staggering arsenal, really. It is a profound manipulation of physical matter. But the crucial takeaway here is that Wukong's invulnerability is never a single inherent trait.
Right.
It is a layered, cumulative effect. He achieves multiple, stacked categories of immortality through the relentless, ravenous consumption of heavily restricted celestial resources.
Let's look at the psychology of that transition, though. Because you forge your body into this unbreakable machine, you figure out how to cheat the biological clock. What is the immediate psychological result of that?
Absolute, unchecked megalomania.
Exactly. You shift from internal meditative alchemy to external cosmic warfare. Once Patriarch Saputi expels him for hubris because Wukong transforms into a flawless pine tree just to show off to the other disciples, Wukong basically decides the universe is his personal vending machine.
The fear of death evaporates.
Right.
And it leaves a vacuum that is instantly filled by pure sociopathy.
Yeah.
He returns home, organizes a monkey militia, and then he descends into the abyssal aquatic realm of the ocean dragon kings.
And he doesn't go there to negotiate.
He doesn't offer a trade. He bypasses diplomacy entirely. He utilizes raw intimidation and the threat of severe physical violence to extort their most sacred ancestral treasures.
A golden chainmail shirt, a phoenix feather cap, cloud-walking boots.
And he claims his signature weapon, which is honestly a weapon of mass destruction, the Rui Jingu Bang.
The iron staff.
Yeah, it is a cosmic pillar of black iron originally used by Yu the Great to measure the literal depths of the primordial ocean. It weighs 13,500 caddies.
We are talking over 17,500 pounds of blunt force trauma.
And he shrinks it down, tucks it behind his ear like a toothpick, and wields it with blinding speed.
Armed with a weapon that heavy, his arrogance just fractures the cosmic order completely because he commits an unprecedented physical assault on the underworld itself.
This is one of the most fascinating parts.
Because here's the terrifying paradox. Despite his extreme alchemical training, his biological lifespan was still somehow recorded in the ledgers of hell.
Right, he was still in the system.
Yama, the king of the underworld, dispatches grim reapers who physically drag Wukong's soul out of his body in his sleep.
Now, most mythologies treat death as an unbreachable ontological barrier.
You die, you die.
Exactly. Wukong's response to the Grim Reaper is to wake up, grab his 17,500-pound iron staff, and beat the literal manifestation of death into submission.
He just pummels death itself.
He lays waste to the 10 kings of hell, physically assaulting the judges of the afterlife. He demands the ledger of life and death, grabs a thick brush, and violently redacts his own name.
And he crosses out the names of every single monkey in his kingdom along with it.
He unilaterally severs an entire primate species from the wheel of reincarnation.
That is an act of cosmic terrorism.
That is exactly what it is. It shatters the cycle of karma. And the ensuing retaliation from the heavenly court is what perfectly exposes the deep satirical cynicism of this lore.
I love this part.
The Jade Emperor's regime is not a bastion of divine justice. It is an impotent, staggering bureaucracy.
The heavenly court is a complete joke. It operates like a failing corporate board that is just terrified of a hostile takeover.
Totally.
Their first response to a sociopathic monkey destroying the infrastructure of hell is appeasement.
Appeasement.
They invite him to heaven and give him the title of Bimoan, keeper of the heavenly steeds. They think they are putting him in his place with a lowly stable boy job, but through sheer administrative incompetence, they unintentionally grant him absolute terrifying dominion over all equine spirits.
And the moment he discovers the title is a slight, he abandons his post and rebels again.
Naturally.
So the Jade Emperor, demonstrating a truly breathtaking lack of foresight, decides the best way to pacify this ravenous immortal monkey is to promote him to a new position.
Which is?
Guarding the Queen Mother's sacred grove of longevity peaches.
You are handing the keys to the pharmacy to a literal addict.
It is absurd. He gorges himself on the sacred fruit. And this triggers the cascade of execution failures.
Because look at the horrifying stack of immortalities he accrues here. He has the Taoist breathing exercises. He has wiped his name from the ledger of death. Now he adds thousands of immortal peaches to his cellular makeup.
But he is not done.
No. Then he crashes an elite celestial banquet and consumes the Jade Emperor's private vats of immortal wine. Stumbling drunk, he wanders into Laozi's alchemy laboratory and devours 5 gourds of highly refined golden elixir pills.
The heavenly court suddenly realizes, oh no, we have manufactured an unstoppable, omnipotent catastrophe.
Yeah, they made him a god.
So they deploy armies of 100,000 celestial soldiers. They send the god Erlan Shen, leading to this cataclysmic shape-shifting battle that ends with both of them morphing into these monstrous 10,000-yard-tall giants with indigo faces, protruding tusks, and crimson hair.
Just trading hundreds of blows that level actual mountains.
Yeah, they finally managed to capture him, only to discover that celestial execution is physically impossible.
They can't kill him.
They chain him to a pillar. They strike him with lightning. They engulf him in divine fire. They hack at his neck with celestial halberds.
And the weapons just shatter against his skin.
Shatter. So, in utter desperation, they lock him inside Laozi's 8-way trigram crucible for 49 days.
They put him in an oven.
They're attempting to subject him to Samadhi fires, to literally melt him down, to distill him back into a raw longevity elixir.
And the crucible is a furnace of cosmic proportions. But he doesn't melt.
No, he hides in a corner corresponding to the wind trigram. He survives, but the intense smoke permanently damages his eyes.
But even that backfires for Heaven.
Right, because this trauma actually grants him a new ability. The golden gaze, fiery eyes. A true sight-ocular power that pierces any demonic disguise or illusion.
Unbelievable.
He erupts from the crucible, shatters it to pieces, and goes on a rampage, massacring the remaining heavenly forces. The entire pantheon is paralyzed.
The universe requires a completely different mechanism of control. You cannot kill him with a sword. The Tathagata Buddha has to intervene from the Western paradise.
And the Buddha doesn't use magic fire. He doesn't use a bigger weapon. He uses raw, overwhelming physical deception.
I think this is my favorite moment in the whole lore. The Buddha challenges Wukong to a seemingly simple wager.
Yeah.
He bets that the monkey cannot leap out of his palm. Now Wukong, fueled by absolute hubris and knowing he can travel 33,000 miles in a single bound, agrees.
He thinks that it's a joke.
He launches his cloud somersault. He flies to the very edge of the cosmic void, sees 5 massive flesh-colored pillars holding up the sky, and thinks, well, I've reached the boundary of the universe. I've won. He plucks a hair, turns it into a brush, tags the middle pillar with his name, and in a display of supreme disrespect, urinates at the base of the pillar.
The ultimate cosmic disrespect.
Right. But he flies back, lands in the Buddha's palm, and demands the Jade Emperor's throne. And the Buddha just smiles and shows him his hand.
Wukong never left the palm.
The 5 pillars were the Buddha's fingers, and the smell of monkey urine is right there, pooling at the base of the Buddha's middle finger.
It is a profound philosophical humiliation. Wukong realizes his supreme physical power means absolutely nothing against the infinite scale of Buddhist reality. And before he can even react, the Buddha overturns his hand, shoves it violently out the gates of heaven, and slams it onto the earth.
Transforming his 5 fingers into the crushing weight of the 5 Elements mountain.
He pins Wukong underneath it for 500 years.
500 years of sensory deprivation. And it's not just being stuck under a rock, right?
Oh, no.
The Buddha leaves a local earth deity to feed him. And his diet, he is force-fed iron pellets when he is hungry, and molten copper juice is poured down his throat when he is thirsty.
It is a grueling, agonizing, psychological breaking down of a megalomaniac.
They leave him there to rot until he is finally drafted by the Bodhisattva Guanyin to serve as a bodyguard for the mortal monk Tang Sanzang on his pilgrimage to India.
Which forces us to examine the logistics of this holy mission.
Yes, let's look at the crew.
To control a deeply damaged psychopath like Wukong on a decades-long journey, the celestial authorities surround him with a crew that is equally, if not more, damaged.
This is where modern adaptations really get it wrong. They paint his companions as goofy, bumbling, comedic relief sidekicks.
Like a sitcom cast.
Exactly. But you dig into the Ming Dynasty lore, and these so-called reformed disciples are essentially paroled war criminals.
War criminals is the correct term.
They are walking manifestations of trauma, forced into karmic servitude under the threat of agonizing pain. Let's start with Zubaji, the pig.
Zubaji's origin is steeped in violence and degradation. He was originally Marshal Tianpeng, a high-ranking naval commander commanding 80,000 heavenly troops.
Okay.
His fall from grace occurs during a celestial peach banquet. He gets blackout drunk, wanders into the lunar palace, and sexually assaults the moon goddess, Chang'e.
And the punishment from the Jade Emperor is staggering. He is publicly subjected to 2,000 lashes with a heavy iron rod, nearly beating him to death, and then he is banished to the mortal realm.
Right.
As his soul is falling through the atmosphere, he desperately tries to possess a human body to retain his memories, but inadvertently crashes into the womb of a pregnant sow.
He is born as this hideous, bristly, massive, half-human, half-pig demon.
And his very first act of mortal existence is one of profound visceral horror. Enraged and disgusted by his porcine form, he violently murders his pig mother and slaughters his newborn siblings.
Matricide and sororicide, right out of the gate.
Right out of the gate.
He establishes a lair at the Cloudy Paths cave, and he devolves into a serial cannibal.
A cannibal.
He survives entirely by ambushing, murdering, and devouring human beings. He is briefly married to a demoness, Lady Egg, but when she dies, he inherits her cave and goes right back to cannibalistic banditry.
Unbelievable.
When Guanyin finally confronts him, he cynically justifies his slaughter. He basically says, all the demons in the mountains live like this. If I don't kill and eat humans, I'll starve.
Wow.
He is a creature driven entirely by base biological lust, gluttony, and a complete lack of empathy.
He is the darkest mirror to Wukong's ascetic discipline. I mean, Wukong starves himself of desire to achieve power. Baji is entirely a slave to his desires. But if you think Baji's punishment of 2,000 lashes for sexual assault was severe, we really have to talk about Sha Wujing, or Sandy, because this guy is the ultimate symbol of disproportionate, sadistic, divine cruelty.
Sha Wujing held the title of curtain-lifting general. His honored, intimate duty was to attend the Jade Emperor's personal chariot.
Okay.
During a similar peach banquet, in a moment of clumsy distraction, he accidentally knocks over and shatters a crystal goblet.
Okay, I have to call out the absolute raging insanity of this justice system.
Please.
Marshal Tianpeng sexually assaults a goddess and gets 2,000 lashes. Wu Jing drops a piece of glassware at a dinner party. A cup.
A single cup.
What happens to him?
The Jade Emperor sentences him to immediate execution for a broken cup.
You have got to be kidding me.
Other deities literally have to beg for his life, so the sentence is supposedly mercifully commuted to 800 lashes, and he is exiled to the mortal realm, down to the murky depths of the flowing sands river.
But the exile isn't even the punishment.
No, the heavenly court implements a mechanism of ongoing, agonizing physical torture. Every 7 days, for eternity, a mechanism of 7 flying divine swords descends from the heavens, pierces the surface of the river, and repeatedly stabs Wu Jing violently through the chest.
Every 7 days, his chest cavity is ripped open by divine swords because he dropped a cup.
He lives submerged in a freezing, treacherous river just to try and hide from the unending mutilation.
It drives him completely mad. He survives for hundreds of years as a ghoul, eating humans who try to cross the river. Specifically, he captures and eats 360 passing pilgrims, and among his victims are the 9 previous reincarnations of their current master, the holy monk Tang Sanzang.
Let that sit in your mind for a second.
Yeah.
The monk they are currently escorting,
Yeah.
the man meant to bring salvation to China, Wu Jing murdered and ate his past 9 lives. He sucked the marrow from their bones.
That is just horrifying.
And because the skulls of these specific holy men possessed a strange buoyancy and mysteriously refused to sink in the river, Wu Jing strings the 9 skulls together and wears them as a macabre, rattling necklace.
A necklace they later use as a makeshift buoyant raft to ferry the current iteration of Tang Sanzang across those exact same treacherous waters.
It's a dark, cyclical symbol, you know?
Yeah.
Utilizing the literal corpses of past suffering to navigate the waters toward future salvation.
You can't even forget the transportation, by the way. The white dragon horse. He was a dragon prince condemned to death by his own father for accidentally setting fire to a magical pearl.
Right.
When he encounters Tang Sanzang, driven by demonic hunger, he completely devours the monk's original mortal horse. As restitution, Guanyin physically transforms him, basically ripping his scales away to force him to take the horse's place as a beast of burden for 14 years.
When you lay all of these origins out, it exposes a cosmic hierarchy that is inherently tyrannical and capricious.
Yeah.
The heavenly court is not an administration of justice, it is a bureaucracy of terror. And the pilgrims are an assembly of grotesqueries.
A sociopathic monkey, a cannibalistic rapist pig, a maddened ghoul wearing a necklace of human skulls, and a dragon that ate a horse.
Yep.
And their grand mission is to escort a frail, weeping virgin monk across a demon-infested continent to achieve absolute spiritual purity, which honestly transitions us perfectly into the psychological meat grinder of the journey itself.
Because the path to Buddhist enlightenment demands the total eradication of desire.
Exactly. So the universe continuously throws horrifying, hypersexualized threats at this deeply damaged crew to test their breaking points.
The overarching philosophical principle here is that sexual desire is the ultimate illusion. It is the heaviest anchor that binds the soul to the cycle of suffering and rebirth.
Okay.
Enlightenment requires the complete, unyielding transcendence of lust. The temptation they face isn't just a distraction. It is a necessary, terrifying crucible.
There is an idiom woven deeply into the lore, monkey of the mind, horse of the will. It is a direct metaphor for uncontrollable male arousal and the restless, untamed nature of human desire. And Wukong's role is really fascinating here. He wields a massive iron staff that can grow to the size of a pillar or shrink to the size of a needle on
The
command.
phallic symbolism is aggressively obvious.
Very. But Wukong himself acts as this violently asexual vanguard. He possesses absolutely zero erotic desire. He constantly, ruthlessly disrupts sexual encounters to protect the master's virginity.
While Baji, on the other hand, is constantly falling prey to his biological urges and enduring extreme, humiliating trauma for it.
And nowhere is this eroticism weaponized into visceral horror more vividly than at the coiled silk cave with the spider spirits.
Oh, the weirdness of this specific arc is off the charts.
It really is.
They encounter 7 spider spirits, demonesses who have cultivated their dark arts for over 1,000 years. They disguise themselves as beautiful young women to seduce and devour Tang Sanzang.
Because they think eating him grants immortality.
Right, they operate under the belief that consuming a monk who has practiced pure internal alchemy for 10 lifetimes will grant them immortality. When the monk refuses their advances, they bind him in a cocoon and travel to the nearby purgation spring to bathe naked in the thermal waters.
And Wukong discovers them. He transforms into a hungry hawk, swoops down, and steals their clothes from the bank, leaving them completely stranded in the water.
Which is a tactical, completely emotionless move designed to humiliate them.
Right, but then Baji discovers what is happening. And his reaction is entirely governed by unchecked, aggressive lust.
As always.
He abandons his duties, discovers them naked in the spring, transforms himself into a slick catfish, and swims between their legs to engage in non-consensual molestation.
The horror flip here is immediate and incredible. The erotic fantasy instantly devolves into a nightmare.
Yeah.
The demonesses realize what is happening and reveal their true, monstrous nature. They expose their bare navels, and instead of smooth skin, they shoot out thick, suffocating ropes of binding spider silk.
Just instantly trapping the pig in a web of his own lust.
They retreat to their demonic brother, who is a massive Taoist centipede spirit. And Wukong's solution to this entanglement is absolute, terrifying brutality.
He doesn't sit down and negotiate.
He doesn't negotiate. He duplicates his body, utilizing thousands of multiplying iron staffs as awls to forcefully rip the defensive webbing apart. He drags the demonesses out, and when their brother refuses to surrender the monk, Wukong brutally massacres all 7 of the spider sisters,
Crushing them in their giant arachnid forms.
He annihilates the manifestation of sexual temptation through sheer, blunt force trauma.
It is a recurring, brutal theme. Like, look at the scorpion spirit. This isn't just a physical threat in a cave. It's the existential terror of a female sexuality so potent it literally threatens the structural integrity of the cosmos itself.
It really does.
She abducts Tang Sanzang and attempts a forceful seduction in her bedchamber, utilizing heavy, suffocating sexual innuendo. Wukong has to aggressively intervene because that kind of erotic banter actively threatens to confound the monk's fundamental, pure nature.
But the true terror of the scorpion spirit is her history.
Tell him about her history.
She is a refugee from heaven, armed with a venomous tail capable of piercing invincible flesh. Before she descended to the mortal realm, while listening to a sermon in the Thunder Monastery, she managed to sting the Tathagata Buddha himself on his left thumb.
The ultimate supreme being. The entity who crushed the indestructible Monkey King with a single hand, wincing in pain from a scorpion sting.
Exactly. It demonstrates that not even the absolute peak of divine enlightenment is safe from toxic, venomous desire.
Wow.
It underscores a paralyzing fear of female sexuality, deeply embedded in the socio-religious subtext of the era. The female form is constantly depicted as a honey trap, designed to drain the male cultivator of his vital yang essence.
But if the scorpion spirit represents cosmic sexual dread, Lady Whitebone is a deep dive into pure, devastating psychological horror.
Oh, this arc is a masterpiece of emotional manipulation.
It draws heavily from the Buddhist meditation practice known as white bone contemplation. This is a real meditation where monks visualize the decay of human flesh, watching the skin rot away down to the skeleton to realize that physical beauty is an illusion.
Form is void.
Right. Lady Whitebone is the literal waking manifestation of that existential dread.
She is highly intelligent. She knows she lacks the raw physical power and durability to defeat Wukong in open combat, so she relies entirely on psychological warfare. She weaponizes the monk's human empathy against Wukong's cold, true sight logic.
She launches a 3-part campaign of deceptive horror. First, she appears as a beautiful, innocent young village girl, offering the starving pilgrims poisonous, magically disguised fruit.
And Wukong sees right through it.
Using his golden gaze, fiery eyes, he instantly sees through the illusion. Without a word of warning, he brings his iron staff down and brutally strikes her dead in front of his master.
But she survives by leaving a decoy corpse, a technique known as shedding the shell and fleeing underground.
Leaving the monk just horrified.
Yeah. She returns shortly after as an elderly, hobbling woman, weeping bitterly, searching the mountains for her murdered daughter.
And Wukong,
completely devoid of human sentimentality or hesitation, he bludgeons the old woman to death as well.
Finally, she assumes the form of an elderly, frail father, chanting Buddhist sutras, searching desperately for his missing wife and daughter. She taunts Wukong telepathically, provoking him into a frenzy. Wukong summons the local earth deities to form a perimeter to block her escape routes, and he obliterates the old man with a fatal blow. And we really have to lean into the anatomical gore of the Ming lore here.
It is not pretty.
The descriptions of these executions are horrifyingly detailed. The narrative specifically describes how their heads crack open, their blood squirts, their skin splits, their necks snap, and their brains outflow onto the dirt.
It is intensely graphic. Upon her final actual death, her illusion shatters, revealing her true ontological form. A literal pile of flower-white skeletal bones lying in the dirt with the name Lady Whitebone carved directly into her spine.
But the psychological damage to the group is already done. Tang Senzang, lacking true sight, is utterly unable to see the demonic truth. He just sees his deranged disciple brutally murdering an innocent family of 3.
And his horror is manipulated by Zhu Baji, of course.
Of course.
Who lies out of spite, claiming Wukong used magic to turn a human corpse into a skeleton, just to avoid the murder charge.
So the monk is overcome with revulsion. He recites the tight fillet spell, triggering the golden headband fused to Wukong's skull by Guanyin, causing Wukong excruciating, paralyzing pain as his cranium is slowly crushed.
He officially drafts a letter of excommunication and banishes Wukong.
The true tragedy is that Lady Whitebone's greatest weapon wasn't her magic or her poison. It was her ability to fracture the group by exploiting their inherent lack of trust and Wukong's inability to communicate his actions gently.
Exactly.
So if Lady Whitebone was a psychological thriller that breaks the crew apart, Camel Ridge is a descent into a historical, industrial-scale bloodbath.
It is grim.
If there was ever a point where the whimsical, episodic adventure vibe violently dies, it is here.
The geography of Camel Ridge alone is deeply traumatic.
Yeah.
We are talking about an 800-mile open grave.
800 miles.
The soil is not dirt. It is an amalgamation of mud, rotting flesh, and human blood.
Wukong disguises himself as a lesser demon to investigate, and the imagery he uncovers is sickening. The entrance to the Lion Camel Cave is surrounded by a towering mountain of human corpses that have been meticulously picked clean of their skin. Human tendons are hanging from the branches of the surrounding trees like macabre decorations. The puddles of coagulated blood produce a stench of decay, so overpowering, it literally acts as a physical barrier.
This is a kingdom of death ruled by 3 formidable demon kings who command an organized military army of over 47,000 lesser demons, all subsisting entirely on human flesh.
47,000.
The sheer scale of the horror reduces Tang Senzang to weeping despair. It causes Baji to lose all psychological control and soil himself, and places immense pressure on Wukong. And what is truly fascinating here is the identity of these 3 kings.
Yeah, this is the wild part.
They are not wild primordial spirits. They are escaped divine pets.
Escaped divine pets running an industrial slaughterhouse on Earth.
Yes.
Let's break down this triad of corruption. First, you have the Azure Lion. This is the celestial mount of the revered Bodhisattva Manjushri. A terrifying beast with green fur and eyes the size of goblets emitting golden beams. He can open his jaws wide enough to swallow entire legions of celestial armies whole.
And his psychological sadism is well documented. Earlier in the lore, he usurped the Black Rooster Kingdom by disguising himself as a Taoist sage, murdering the true human king by shoving him down a well and assuming his exact physical form to rule the kingdom and enjoy the royal harem for 3 years.
Then you have the yellow-tusked old elephant, the six-tusked celestial mount of the Bodhisattva Samantabhadra. He has this terrifying metaphysical ability to squeeze the soul directly out of an opponent's physical body with his trunk, bypassing biological durability.
He catches Baji by wrapping him in his prehensile tongue and explicitly plans to pickle the pig alive in salt.
Pickle him alive.
He also captures the pilgrims and tries to execute them by steaming them alive in massive boiling cauldrons.
But the supreme mastermind of this triad, the architect of the slaughterhouse, is the golden-winged Great Pang, based on the primordial Hindu-Buddhist bird god Garuda. He wields the flask of yin and yang essence, a horrifying artifact that vacuums victims inside and, using supernatural fire and wind, slowly reduces their physical forms to a puddle of bloody slurry.
And his backstory is the most horrific part. He didn't just conquer the lion camel kingdom. He systematically massacred and devoured the entire human population of the city to claim the throne for the demon race.
The whole city.
Men, women, children, an apocalyptic level of violence. So Wukong goes up against him, and for all his 72 transformations, Wukong can't beat the Peng.
He just can't.
The bird is faster, able to fly 90,000 lines in a single flap of its wings. Wukong actually breaks down crying and has to travel to the Western paradise to beg the Tathagata Buddha to intervene.
But here is where the mind-blowing climax hits. It turns out the Peng, the architect of this genocide, is the Buddha's spiritual uncle.
This brings us to a nauseating display of divine nepotism. Both the Buddha and the Peng trace their lineage back to the primordial universe, involving the ancient phoenix.
Right.
The Buddha arrives with a massive celestial retinue to intervene. But he doesn't execute the Peng for genocide. He doesn't subject him to the endless, agonizing torture that Sha Wujing received for dropping a cup.
A kingdom of humans eaten alive, and what does the supreme and enlightened being do?
He has a polite theological debate with him.
Unbelievable.
The Peng unabashedly admits his love for consuming human flesh and complains that a vegetarian diet in the Western paradise will starve him. And the Buddha, protecting his own bloodline, gently forces Peng to abandon his evil goals by offering him a bribe.
A bribe.
A cushy, exalted job as a protector above his throne, guaranteeing him the first offerings of food from worshippers across the world.
It cements the absolute bleak cynicism of this entire mythology. The elites protect their own, no matter the body count, while viciously torturing lower-class entities for centuries over minor infractions. The hypocrisy is staggering.
It emphasizes that Wukong cannot rely on the cosmic order for justice. The hierarchy is rotten.
Yeah.
In fact, as we move into the later stages of the journey, the threats become far more intimate and terrifying.
Yeah.
We've seen external massacres, but the final threats are the ones that unravel Wukong's own biology and his own mind.
Because despite all his stacked immortalities, the peaches, the pills, the crucible Wukong is still a bogus immortal. He hasn't achieved true Buddha nature. He hasn't broken free from the wheel of rebirth.
He can still die.
He can still die. And he almost does at the hands of a 300-year-old demonic child, Red Boy.
Red Boy is the child's the Bull Demon King and Princess Ironfan. He appears as a harmless, naked infant, but over 3 centuries he has cultivated a devastating esoteric ability. True Samadhi Fire.
Beyond heaven fire. This isn't just a really hot flame. It's fueled by profound spiritual concentration and internal alchemy. He projects this inextinguishable fire from his eyes, nostrils, and mouth by striking his own nose to draw blood.
And normal water can't quench it.
In fact, when Wukong gets the Eastern Dragon King to summon a torrential downpour, the rainwater acts like gasoline, completely intensifying the supernatural flames.
Overwhelmed by the intense smoke, which, you have to remember, triggers his PTSD, and the ocular damage from Laozi's crucible, Wukong makes a fatal, panicking miscalculation.
He dives into a river.
He dives into a freezing mountain stream to escape the heat, and the catastrophic thermal shock of the freezing water crashing against his superheated, alchemically altered body forces his capillary to instantly collapse inward.
It is pure physiological horror. His internal furnace shuts down. His tongue and throat freeze solid. His breath stops. And his souls, the Han and Po souls, are violently and forcefully ejected from his physical vessel.
He dies.
The indestructible, mountain-crushing Monkey King is dead in a river.
We have to understand the anatomy of the soul here to get why this happens. The Han represents the ethereal yang-aligned soul, while the Po is the corporeal yin-aligned soul that governs physical function.
Okay.
When they separate, clinical death occurs.
Yeah.
He is only saved because Zhu Baji, drawing on his own deep residual knowledge of internal alchemy from his days as a celestial commander, drags the corpse out of the water and performs a desperate life-saving massage.
A massage.
He physically forces the key from Wukong's cinnabar field to circulate through the frozen meridians of his corpse, forcefully dragging his scattered souls back into the body just in time.
It is a terrifying reminder of his vulnerability. And the fallout from this encounter touches on another deeply tragic element, the fractured brotherhood with the bull demon king.
Oh, this is so sad.
Centuries ago, before he was trapped under the mountain, Wukong and the bull demon king were sworn brothers. But Wukong's rebellion ruined the bull demon's life.
The heavenly court, terrified of the bull demon's unbridled power and political influence, systematically dismantled his life. They forced him into a political marriage with Princess Ironfan.
Control him.
Exactly. To ensure she bore an heir-red boy, they forced her to drink from the magical Zimu River to become pregnant, essentially domesticating the Demon King through family obligations.
So when the pilgrims need Princess Ironfan's magical palm leaf fan to extinguish the 800-mile-wide flaming mountain to continue their journey, the Bull Demon King absolutely refuses.
He views Wukong not as a brother, but as a traitor to the demon race who sold out and sided with their oppressors.
The heavens eventually have to subjugate the Bull Demon King by deploying the deity Neza, who repeatedly and violently decapitates the bull in his giant true form until he finally submits.
It highlights the inescapable destructive wake of Wukong's actions. Every bridge he crosses burns. But the absolute philosophical peak of this journey, the most terrifying threat to Wukong, isn't supernatural fire or a vengeful former brother. It is himself, the Six-Eared Macaque.
This is a profound psychological and philosophical horror. The Six-Eared Macaque is an exact, flawless doppelganger of Wukong. Identical physical strength, identical magical abilities, identical clothing, and he even wields an identical iron staff. Its power stems from unique auditory visual mimicry. With its 6 ears, it can eavesdrop on events up to 1,000 line away, flawlessly replicating overheard details, Wukong's innermost memories, his speech patterns, and his every physical move.
The deception is so absolute that literally no one in the cosmos can tell them apart. Not the heavenly mirror of Li Jing, not the infinite ledgers of the underworld judges, not even Guan Yin herself.
No one.
Tang Sanzang recites the tight fillet spell, and both monkeys scream in identical, agonizing pain. They are locked in a brutal, unending physical stalemate that threatens to tear the cosmos apart, fighting their way from the mortal realm to heaven and down to hell.
They finally appear before the Tathagata Buddha in the Western paradise, the only being with the vast cosmic awareness required to actually identify the imposter. The Buddha reveals the macaque is one of the 4 spiritual primates that fall completely outside the 10 categories of mortal and immortal life.
But the true significance of the Six-Eared Macaque is deeply ontological. He represents Wangsun the false mind, or illusionary mind, standing in direct, violent opposition to Wukong's Zhengsun, his true mind.
He is the embodiment of heterodoxy. The macaque represents the darkest, most arrogant, deeply repressed facets of Wukong's psyche. The delusion that he could violently usurp his master, abandon the grueling ascetic path, forge his own scriptures, and achieve eternal glory completely alone without the burden of morality.
This ties directly into Buddhist soteriology. You cannot attain nirvana while harboring double-mindedness.
Right.
The macaque is Wukong's violent ego materialized in flesh and blood. When the Buddha finally exposes the macaque's true form and traps him beneath a giant golden alms bowl, the macaque shrinks and tries to flee as a panicked bee.
And consider Wukong's reaction. Does he show mercy to this creature that shares his face? Does he let the Buddha imprison it?
No.
Without a single second of hesitation or compassion, Wukong lifts his 17,500-pound iron staff, brings it down upon the bowl, and instantly crushes his duplicate into a bloody pulp.
It is the swift, unceremonious murder of its own shadow self. To achieve pure oneness, to inch closer to genuine Buddhahood, Wukong must physically obliterate his darkest desires. He has to murder his own reflection.
It is a brutal ego death.
Completely brutal.
So look at what they have endured. They slaughter their demons, they crush their egos, they survive thermal death, they navigate divine nepotism. After 14 years, they finally reach the Western paradise. They meet the Buddha, they receive the sacred scriptures. Roll the peaceful music. Peace and nirvana achieved.
Absolutely not. The universe has one last, incredibly petty tribulation waiting for them.
It is the ultimate insult. They are flying back to China on supernatural winds with the scriptures, and the highest Buddhist deities checking the ledgers realize the pilgrims have only suffered 80 tribulations.
80.
They are exactly one tribulation short of the 81 mandated by rigid cosmic law. So what happens? They are unceremoniously dropped right out of the sky, tumbling through the air and crashing onto the freezing banks of the heaven-reaching river.
This is the exact massive river where a giant ancient white turtle spirit had previously ferried them across earlier in the journey. The ancient reptile appears again and offers them a ride across the water. But mid-crossing, the turtle asks Tangsan Zhang a very specific question.
Did you remember to ask the Buddha when my long centuries of Taoist cultivation will finally let me shed this beastly shell and become human? And Tangsan Zhang, who was so overwhelmed by meeting the Buddha and the rigors of achieving enlightenment, well, he completely forgot.
You forgot the promise.
Yeah.
Enraged by this display of mortal fallibility from an enlightened monk, the white turtle abruptly rolls over and dives into the freezing depths.
The pilgrims, the magical horse, and the priceless salvation-bestowing sutras are all violently dumped into the churning water.
It is such a dark, comedic capstone to a century of trauma. It demonstrates the inescapable gravitational weight of mundane karma. You can achieve immortality. You can physically butcher thousands of demons. You can stand before the Supreme Buddha and reach nirvana, but you are still at the mercy of a broken promise to a turtle.
And this legacy of psychological torture, divine corruption, and subversive horror left such a profound mark on the culture that it spawned transgressive fan fiction and sequels later in the Ming Dynasty.
Yes, the most notable is the 1640 narrative, a supplement to the Journey to the West. It leans entirely into psychedelic surrealism and psychological breakdown.
Oh, the sequel is a fever dream. Wukong gets trapped in a magic tower of mirrors where he is forced to confront infinite reflections of his own desires. He literally travels through time. He takes over as King Yama, acting as the judge of hell and agonizing over karmic rulings.
And the ultimate nightmare sequence. He returns to his own timeline, only to find that Tangsan Zhang has completely abandoned his holy vows, taken a wife, grown his hair out, and become a ruthless military warlord.
It is so wild. The lore just continuously subverts religious piety with unrelenting psychological manipulation.
It forces us to synthesize the true nature of the entire journey. When you pull back and look at the totality of this mythological universe, it completely dismantles the sanitized fairy tale we started with. This isn't a peaceful ascent into the clouds to find God.
No.
It is a 100-chapter endurance test designed to break the spirit.
Spiritual power here is derived solely from the violent, agonizing denial of biological imperatives. The celestial hierarchy you are aspiring to join is a corrupt, incompetent bureaucracy running on nepotism. Your companions are reformed rapists and serial cannibals adorned in the skulls of their victims.
That's accurate.
The landscape is an 800-mile charnel house overflowing with visceral gore, psychosexual manipulation, and existential dread.
You only achieve godhood by surviving horrific trauma, conforming to an arbitrary cosmic law, and violently butchering the ugliest parts of your own psyche. Which leaves us with a deeply haunting question to chew on as we wrap up.
Lay it on us.
If ultimate enlightenment requires you to become a sociopathic, emotionless weapon, if it demands that you physically annihilate your own mirror image and shed every single human attachment you possess, is the paradise at the end of the journey actually worth the absolute annihilation of your humanity?
That is the terrifying reality waiting at the end of the road. We started out looking for a clean, comforting picture book, a simple narrative of good overcoming evil. Instead, we found a universe where the game is rigged, the judges are corrupt, and the only way to win is to walk straight into the furnace and burn away everything that makes you human. Keep that in mind the next time you see a cartoon monkey on a lunchbox. We'll see you on the next deep dive.